Hey, this is Bobby Ross Avila of the Avila Brothers.
What up? This is the other half of the Avila Brothers. I'm just hanging out,
bro?
Man, 2021. What's up, bro?
Man, just hanging too, man. Enjoying this day. It's been a crazy year, but as we're dealing with 2021 with NAMM, we have this incredible interview from 2020 with our musical family, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, in the Rolling Artist Archives.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
What's up with it, man, is we finally actually get to share it, man. And, what's crazy about this interview in 2020 with Jimmy and Terry was, we got to dive through so much history, man. The cheat codes, the musical secrets, the Prince stories. And now we finally get to share it, man, in 2021, man. So, it's dope, bro. You know how many people would like to hear, some of these incredible musical stories with Jimmy and Terry, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, the intimate stories, and then to just have to have their heart and see their passions wearing it on their shoulders for the first time. That kind of setting was incredible and crazy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I just remember us being parked at the Rolling booth, second story, looking at just the musician community, man, and just getting to dive through history, man. And man, it was just a great conversation. I'm excited that me and you get to share this, to the musical community, man. So I'm excited, man. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, interviewed by the Avila Brothers. Man, let's dive in it, bro.
Let's dive. Let's check it out.
Well, we're hanging here at NAMM 2020 here at Rolling, hanging with what I like to call my black daddies, Jam and Lewis, and my sister, Bobby.
What's up, sis?
So what's going on, fellas?
NAMM.
Yeah.
NAMM, man.
2020. Yeah. Anything cool, exciting? Like, I know the floor is always chaotic, and I'm sure y'all are getting touched by every person that walks by you.
Not every person, but we do have the PRL. We're keeping that nice and handy, though.
Nice.
That's right. That's right.
I got to tell you, the highlight for me, amongst all the technology that's here,
Yeah.
I got a chance yesterday to sit and talk with Quincy Jones, who obviously transcends technology and everything. He transcends everything. It's all about humanity. So even amongst the technology, the humanity is the best thing.
Yeah.
Seeing you guys hanging with y'all, and really the beauty of what music is, that to me is the beauty of this whole thing, because without the music, none of this stuff matters.
No, absolutely. It's like, I think for me, man, what's dope, and even for my bro, when you look at the institutions that we've all come from, whether it was Gamble and Huff, Flight Time, which we were honored, blessed to be a part of as kids, to see that information transferred in today's younger culture of musicians and songwriters and producers. I think, we do our best to close that gap, very much like you guys were able to close the gap with us and sharing that experience and the craft and the love. I kind of like, we were talking about it yesterday, just the temperature check here at NAMM. You're starting to see a lot of that with the musicians and the songwriters, producers, really coming together just to share information and talk more.
What I've seen recently, or at least it feels this way, I'm not sure whether it's the case, I hope it is, but there's companies, and particularly Roland, for example, where rather than a bunch of technicians in a room over here giving instruments to people, they're actually interacting with the musicians to make sure that the instruments are what they should be.
Right.
So it's not out there and then you go, oops, we didn't think of that. Well,
Right.
You would have thought of that if you would have talked to the people that are actually creating the music.
Yeah.
And so I see the dialogue beginning to happen where it used to be a vacuum, the tech people on one side and the
Right.
musicians on another side. I see a lot more companies adopting that the musicians have to be part of the development process to get it right.
I agree.
Because the technicians are going to come up with what they come up with, but as musicians and artists, we're going to maybe not even read the instruction manual
Right.
and start twisting some knobs and doing some stuff, you know what I'm saying? And they're going to go, oh, I didn't even know it could do that. And it's like, yeah, because you're not thinking, but we don't expect you to think like that. But yeah, give us the tools and let us figure it out.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And the great thing about all of this is that there's far more opportunity than there's ever been
Right, that's very true.
to learn. The information is there for you. The instruments are there for you. The opportunity is there for you. Seek and you shall find.
Yeah, that's true.
stay at home and expect, you will want.
Yeah.
So, hey, you got to get out there and mingle and get into it. You have to read, get the information. All the information is there. What good deals are, what bad deals are, what good instruments are, what good players are. You can find that. You can find all that information. So just use the information that you get if you really want to be armed with the right tools in your tool belt.
No, I agree. I try to tell a lot of our friends, your mentality has to evolve, right? Because as a musician, we've been taught bad habits, right? You get in the game, man, try to talk to artist relations, try to get a free instrument, that same old. And you got to understand, we're at a time now where it really requires a relationship between whatever manufacturer vendor, right? So that they can truly understand the culture of creativity and how that's implemented into the next device that's coming. You were saying, Jam, there's always a separation in those two groups. And, it's a drag when somebody comes to you at the tail end of it and puts it in your hand and you're like, kind of feels like a toy, does it, and all, to me, those are all important nuances of where today's creator mentality is, right? And how that evolves. And like you say, you got to get out here, learn how to talk to people, network, and just socialize with your peers, and share ideas and concepts. And I think that's how we continue to push the needle forward, in this space.
And I think relationships are really important. If for any sort of business, the relationships are really everything.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to obviously get out and have those and network and talk to people, because that's what it's all about. And that's the only way you get informed. You want to I always talk about, you want to make informed decisions.
Right.
Well, if you don't have the information, then the decisions you're making are uninformed decisions, and that doesn't make any sense,
Yeah.
So
it's not the get over mentality.
Right.
It's the get better mentality.
Right. Yeah. Bobby, you're so quiet over there.
Because I have too much to say.
You know too much?
I know too much. I do too much because I know too much. No, I think just from being a creator, musician at a young age, I think I love the human element now with companies and how they're engaging the new creator, the young creator. Because right now, nobody knows.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Nobody knows where it's going to come from, how we're going to get it, what the experience is going to be like. So I love that a lot of the companies are going back to the fundamentals. For instance, Roland, they're getting back to the Jupiter, the D50, all of these synthesizers that really changed the lives of creators, which then the music lovers took on the creation, and it changes lives. I think the most important thing that I love about where music's at today here is that people are recognizing that music is truly the divine language. And it brings strangers together and it brings people together. And I think the power of music is it's so powerful. Why bastardize music and something that's so unique and so special. So I'm glad that a lot of these companies are realizing, how important music really is and at the core of all of this.
It's interesting too, and I was thinking about this, because as we get into our, advanced years or whatever you want to call it.
Classics.
Classic. Fine wine.
Classics.
But you realize at a certain point the value of the past and how it informs the future. And I say that because if you think about, we went through a period when Terry and I started, synthesizers looked kind of like this one here, right? There was knobs everywhere. If you wanted to do something, you saw it, you grabbed it, and you touched it, right? Yeah. And then everything became a touch screen, and you had to scroll through things and whatever.
Yeah.
So, and that's looked at as an advancement, and it is in a way as an advancement in technology, not necessarily in creativity.
Ooh,
And so now you see all the new products that are coming out utilizing touchscreen technology where it makes sense, but going back to good old knobs and sometimes even patch cords and stuff when it makes sense to do that. And so it's almost embracing that what we had before was actually really good.
Really good.
And that goes for technology, but it also goes for people. People go through renaissances, and that's a case where people now look back at things that Terry and I have done and gone, oh man, now that's the way it should be done. And it's like, yeah, well, we've always said that, but you weren't listening. So I think that's the other thing that begins to happen.
I think too, just as he's saying that, like, everybody had a Lynn drum. Everybody had an LM1, an 808. But the creative process and how we used it was very different and unique than the way you guys used it versus maybe somebody like Teddy used an SP1200. So while everybody has all the same plugins, it's like, I'm hearing one song for 24 hours on one radio station. Like, where's the creativity in what everybody has? It's like, what are you doing different with that information that somebody else isn't doing? And I think now it's like having the knobs, having this is discovering a whole new element creatively.
It changes the way you think about things.
Right?
When you can grab something that's, tactile or whatever you want to call it, that's a different feeling than if you're just touching a screen. It makes your brain work differently. Doesn't mean that it's better or worse. It just means that it's a different way to create.
Yeah.
And it's one that makes sense. You know?
You said something about we might not read the manual. And quite frankly, Roland's manuals are so damn complicated. I was like, forget it. I'll figure this out.
Right.
But I remember you telling me that with the Lynn drum, you never put anything in song mode.
Right. I still don't know how to do that.
See, that's crazy because just the thought process and just changing the verse pattern to the chorus drum pattern, that's crazy in itself. So it just forced you to create differently. And I think that's what I like about technology today. It's like, create something different now. And challenge yourself.
The thought process is different because back then also, we were always thinking in terms of a song. So we turned the drum machine on for 5 minutes. And then we'd go, okay, let's figure out how we're going to do it. And if a pattern switched at the wrong time, it wouldn't be a mistake. It would be, let's figure out musically how to make that something that's kind of cool, right?
There's a secret.
Happy accident.
You know what, too, man? For me, it was great understanding the process with you guys because, we'd be working on records, T, and it was something you always said was dynamics, right? And transitions and, it shouldn't feel the same. The end of the song should never feel the same way it starts off. And just the importance of those things too. Take you on a journey. And I was and this was from listening to your guys' records as a kid. Like I heard all the percussion that would transition you into a verse, take you out of the B section, going into the chorus, whether it was the wind chimes. It was just things that, we would do live cymbal overdubs. We had a hybrid
pings
of
and zings.
Pings and zings that
just hit
were,
it.
textures to the record that, that became a part of our DNA and our creative cloth because of what we saw you guys do in real time, and just to hear that again and those things. And, we're always trying to reintroduce those elements to the young creator, and so.
Yeah.
Well, the genius of you, because you're the person that showed me how to work an MPC, right? And so the fact that I know that's still your bread and butter, right?
Right.
But there's other ways you can still create. Now, if you jump on something else, you create in a different way.
Right.
But there's something that's so perfect about your understanding of that. But the other thing was your loops that you did. Like people make loops, and it's funny because you talk about like songs you hear on the radio sometimes, and literally you hear the first 2 bars of the song. That's the whole song.
That's it.
Because it's a 2-bar loop that goes for however 3 minutes or for however long the song is. And it's like, okay. And so people get in a habit of listening to the first 20 seconds and that's the song.
That's the song,
it.
You don't have to listen to the whole thing. And the genius in what you always did was even if it was a loop, it never was the perfect loop. There was always things that had a flow to it. Like the pocket was there, but it wasn't just the pocket. It was like the pocket was like this. And that was the genius of that. And then you combine that with your crazy ass musicianship, which is just like, because we grew up with Prince. Prince could pick up a guitar and kill it, and pick up a bass and kill it, get on a keyboard and kill it, and that's you. You know what I'm saying? And you play with the attitude. You don't just play at it, but you play it with the attitude and with the soulfulness and all that.
It's like in playing bass, or I lay the key track down and I get the bass and I'm like, I'm gonna take that keyboard player out.
Yes.
And then I get on the guitar and be like, I'm gonna take the bass player and the keyboard player out.
Right.
So everything kind of felt like it was its own character without it all being the same, even though it was coming from the same place.
Yep.
And even when you're talking about the percussion, as a young creator, the shit that Steve Hodge would put
Yeah.
on the stereo track alone. That was a process in itself.
Right.
He had the bus, he'd have the Eventide, the AMS, and the Lexicon, and that just was like that unique sound where that had its own special.
Yeah.
So it's like, to me, that's like what I like about what's going on here is being able to identify with being creative. When I was a kid, I was a sponge. I wanted to learn everything. How is this done? Now, to me, I think it's there now. And you see a lot of young kids walking around here like airing the bases. The other kid who's playing crazy, like some Chick Corea stuff. It's like, I think technology's opened their minds up to that. It's just you got to direct them because they don't have the information the way that I was able to know who Steve Hodge was, or Al Schmidt, or John Gass, or Suzanne Rogers, or Peggy Mack. Like, that's a different school. So I think for us now being older, it's like we need to pass on the information because you truly are only as tall as the shoulders you stand on, for real.
By the way, it's important that you were saying as a kid, you were thirsty for the, to know everything, right? Hungry to know everything. Then in that case, I think we're all kids because we still are hungering for more information to get better at something. I was thinking about this the other day. Somebody asked me what I listen to in the car, and I always say I'm listening to talk radio. Because if I'm listening to music in the car where it's like relaxing to somebody, to listen to music, like to me a lot of times, it's like, oh man, how'd they get that drum sound? Oh man, listen to that. Listen to that, whatever, right? I'm like, I'm going to work. Like it ain't making me relax.
See, and that's dope because, people would ask me about all the time, Jimmy and Terry, they never have to show up to another studio session in their life. Do they actually come every day? I was like, shit. Yes, they do. Go ahead, T.
Well, hey, I'm just going to say something really simple. Like, one thing about us, we grew up in an age where there was no technology.
Right.
There were no synthesizers. Right. We had to play the bass, the drums, the piano. Everybody had to be in the room.
Yeah.
And we graduated gradually into a technology age. But one thing that I really love about that age is that we use the technology as a tool.
Right.
And we never let the technology make us.
Right.
We made the technology.
Right.
So, just remember the technology is only there for you to give you enhanced creativity.
Yeah.
Right.
You shouldn't let it do the work for you.
Yeah.
If it's going week, it has to have a purpose.
Right.
So just make sure that you use the technology on your behalf.
Yeah.
And not let it make you get lazy.
Right.
So I still want to create every day.
Yeah.
As a creator, and no matter what, even if I don't get to put it down.
Right.
And I create some great stuff sometimes, and I got a whole lot of bad stuff that I love so much, I keep it to myself. But
That's right.
it's all part of the process. It's not going to always come out great, but take a step out on a limb.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the standard thing. It doesn't have to be the safe thing that makes an A&R person feel safe.
Right.
Because they don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Who gave them the key to the castle?
Right. That's so true.
We build the castle as creators, so continue to build that castle.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You know what I think too, man? I think what I love so much about you guys, other than the fact that you guys have been great humans to everybody, not just me, my brother, is the fact that through the years you guys are still close together, and you guys have a love beyond music, as families, got kids now, your kids are growing up and in school, we got kids now, and just to have that sense of unity through all the years, and still love to create and have creative conversation. I think that's so special, man, because you see the folks that come into the game together and a second goes by and they're not together anymore,
Rule number 1, never count another man's money.
Right.
There's another
rule
gym.
Number 1.
That's right.
Never count another man's money.
Yeah.
And I'm happy for whatever you do, whatever you do.
Yeah.
And if I can help you do it, God bless us. Let's go do it.
I tell people all the time, there's a nuance or distinction to be made, because people ask, what happens when you and Terry get in an argument? And I said, Terry and I have never argued. And they said, how could that be? And I said, because an argument is something you're trying to win.
Right.
We disagree on things, but a disagreement is something that can be solved.
Right.
And that's the difference. So disagreement, we come to a solution to.
Yeah.
An argument, we're trying to win. Well, by the way, if we get in an argument and he wins the argument, what does that mean? That means I lose the argument. So now we got a winner and a loser. Well, that ain't good.
Right.
You know, what you want is you want to find a commonality and try to do it. So
Tell me what's best.
Yeah.
what's best wins, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. And also when you take whose idea out of the picture.
Yeah.
When we shook hands, I don't know, 40 some years ago and just said we're going to 50-50, then to me, that took away most of anything you'd ever argue about. Well, that's my melody. Well, that's my title. Well, that was my
That's so
bridge,
true.
and that's my what.
Yeah.
It's like, check all that out, and you know you can just go create. There's songs that are Jam and Lewis songs that I don't even hear him until he's done with them, and he plays them for me, and it's like, oh shit, that's great. That's 50% mine. I love it. You know, I mean, that's the way it just happens.
And you know that's extremely important for, you know, the creative today, because a lot of these cats jump into a session wanting to know what they're going to make on on the business and publishing side before the song's even made.
Right.
It's like, yo,
well, it's the music business, not the business music.
Right. Yeah.
So let's get the music and then let's talk about the business. But it all stems from that. I would say the last thing I'll say, but not even the last thing I'll say. I have no desire to be doing what I do without him.
Yeah.
That's just real simple. Like,
And likewise.
Yeah.
I have no desire to do it without y'all.
Yeah. And
so there you go. And that's
likewise.
what it is. And so that's what it is.
Yeah.
Music has joined us together. We have a thread running through us that's nobody's ever going to break that thread.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. But the music's always going to hold it together. That's going to be the strongest thing that always holds us together, no matter what.
We agree even in disagreement.
That's right. That's right.
The DNA of Flight Time is very powerful.
Yes.
That's what I will say. You know.
Well, I'm not so lucky.
Even they like that down there. They even clap my voice down there.
Who should I call? The police?
Yeah, what he said.
Dizzy's been beating me up for years. I mean, who do I call? No, but you know, I'm going to get back to it. Like, that's the beauty. And that, to me, what I've realized being in music, as long as I've been in music, is so powerful.
Yeah.
You know, it brings strangers together in such a unique way. I mean, we come from San Bernardino, like, how in the world were we ever going to get to Minneapolis?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like the power of what God has created with the gift of music.
Yeah.
Daddy boy.
My daddy. Papa Bobby. Papa Bobby.
So, man, what's going on with the Jimmy and Terry record, man?
Well, somebody asked me about that the other day, and I said it's not finished yet, but it's not ready to be finished yet.
Got you.
There's a time when it'll be ready. It'll be time to end it,
Yeah.
right?
It's that special.
But we started, you know, the journey of that record started 35 years ago.
Yeah.
When John McClane came to town. We played him the Control album, what we thought was the Control album. And we played him When I Think of You. We played him Nasty. We played him Control. Let's Wait a While. We played him all these records. We're thinking, oh, we're good. And like all A&R people, he said, I just need one more. Like, what the hell are you talking about, man? So we said, no, forget that. And then we went on a ride and we said, let us play you some tracks from the Jam and Lewis album that we're working on. And about the third track in, he goes, oh, that's the one right there. That's the one I need for Janet. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I need that for Janet. And so, you know, he goes, man, play it for her, and if she likes it, she can have it. And I'm like, okay, fine.
Of
So the next day, we go to the studio, and Janet's on the couch watching TV, the old Flight Time, the first Flight Time. And she's watching TV on the couch, and so I just put the record on, I put the tape on, and I watch her, and she's watching the TV, then she looks, and then she kind of leans down, and then I see her start doing like this, and then she gets up, she stands in the doorway, she leans in the doorway, she points at the speakers, and she turns and points to us, and then when it goes off, she goes, who's that for? And we said, well, you if you want it. And she said, oh, I want it. That song ended up becoming What Have You Done For Me Lately?
Oh, shit.
That was the end of our careers, as the beginning of hers and her journey. But anyway, what's happened over the years is we
Circle back around. That's a long circle.
so over the years there's been other songs we've done that we've said, you know, this would be great for Jam and Lewis album, and the artists have just kept them. They've just said, no, I got to have that for me.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, great. So finally we got selfish. I don't know, about 4 or 5 years ago, we kind of got selfish. A few things happened. Prince passing
Yeah.
made things very apparent to us that we can't continue to wait on things that we want to do.
Yeah.
Because pretty soon, at a certain point, we're not all going to be around, you know? So that's one thing that happened. Us getting inducted in the Songwriters Hall of Fame was interesting for us also because we played our own songs that night. on stage, and people said, well, we've never seen you play your own songs before. And we're like, oh yeah, that is true. We never played our own songs live. Okay, so that's something else we need to put on our list of things to do. And I call it the bucket list. Terry calls it the fuck it list. We can but he's right. It's like, fuck it, what haven't we done yet? You know?
G on him.
So anyway, all of that brought us around to, we need to actually, if we're going to do this record, we need to make this record. And so now we're at that point, and we have songs that have spanned over a period of time. But, you know, until it's done, it's not, you know, it's timeless. It's not soup. So anyway, that's where we're at. But we think this summer we'll have everything in place and ready to go.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad along the road trip, you stopped by us.
Yeah, man.
And we created some magic and a relationship.
Yeah, y'all are all over our record. You know that. You know that. Yeah, that partnership's already there. So, you know, it's going to be a wonderful record. And hopefully, I can just say to people, it's not my words, but people that have heard what obviously you've heard what we're doing, but the people that have heard what we're doing have said that it feels like a cavity in their soul has been filled, and they didn't even know that the cavity was there.
Yeah.
Wow.
But now hearing this record, that the cavity's been there. And the other thing for us is all about the artists. Like, that's always been our mottos. We try to make the artists look as good as they can possibly. And we had, you know, Sean from Boyz II Men, for instance, came in and listened to the song we did for them and like cried.
Wow.
He just cried because
that's great.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like making the artists feel like they're really important and they're really relevant, because they are.
Yeah.
And you know, whether it's Boyz II Men, whether it's Mary J. Blige, Babyface, Usher, I mean, whoever, these artists are such important artists to us, and they should be important artists to everybody, but they need to be important to themselves. You know what I'm saying? So they realize, oh no, we're not doing anything wrong. We're still here. No, this is really good. And I think this will be a very reaffirming album for them too, if the artists feel good about it.
Yeah, and I love that it's a new sonic experience too.
Yes,
I love
exactly.
What
That's
you guys
good.
are doing and pushing the needle forward and just creating a new landscape. You know, I think
I think we, you know, talk about that, because a lot of guys ask us, like, how is it that the music that me and Ez does is like connects with the artist? And we always tell them, like, just the principles of how you guys create. It's music's the second part. First, we got to know what colors you like. You know, do you like it cold? Do you like the summertime?
Yeah.
Getting to understand who the artist is
Right.
as a person, as an individual, that then allows us to create, you know, the kind of palette we're going to create on that canvas and the paint that we're going to use and the brush that we're going to use. I think that's really important too.
Well, you know, a
to
lot
talk
of that
about
stems from, though, the artists have to live with whatever is made. They live with it for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
So if they have a hit record, they're making videos, they're touring. 20 years later, you know, Boyz II Men's always going to be singing on Bended Knee, right? Like, every show they do, they got to do that song. If there was things in that song that they didn't like and didn't agree with, and even though it's a hit record, every night when they sing it, they're going to be pissed off. They're going to be like, I don't know, you know. So you have to tailor the records to the artist, because they're going to be singing them for the rest of their lives, which is really important. And in this case, for us, it's a little different because we are the artists. And we always say, you know, Terry's got the great saying, a barber can't cut the back of his own head, right? So you almost need that perspective, right? So now we're at that point where we need that perspective.
Yeah.
So we had you guys come in and listen to stuff, and we just need people to go, yeah, that's cool, but you know, if you just, you know, that kind of thing.
Get that little nick back there.
Yeah. So we need that. But the other piece of it too, like he said though, if you think about technology as far as like, just think about what we watch, television. Like, you couldn't even watch a plasma TV right now, right? In regular definition.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it would have to be HD.
Cheesecake.
Had to be HD. Then it had to be 4K. Now it's 8K.
Right.
And we're doing all these things to enhance what we're seeing. But what we're hearing went backwards. It went to MP3s. It went to little cheap earbuds. And it was a convenient thing. And it was sort of like, okay, that's cool, but that isn't really the way the music should be heard. It should really, you know, my analogy is always microwave popcorn. My kids were making, I made popcorn to watch a movie. And I made like real popcorn, right? I'm watching the movie. I left a little bit in the kitchen. My kids walk in and they go, "What kind of popcorn is this?" I said, "It's popcorn." And they said, "No, what kind of popcorn is it?" And I said, "Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, stopped the movie. I went into the kitchen and I said, okay, so there's a pan. You pour the popcorn in, right? You know, and you make it. I said, it's not microwave popcorn. So for them, they'd always had microwave popcorn, which was perfectly fine until they tasted the real popcorn. Yeah. And the next day, I smelled the burnt popcorn smell.
I was going to say, I was waiting for the burn.
And you know I don't like the burnt popcorn.
As soon as you say popcorn, I was trying to hold it in.
Who burned the popcorn?
Who peed in the pool?
I went in the kitchen and they got like a frying pan, like a skillet. And they tried to do this shit and I'm like, oh, no. But what it showed me was if you give people something that really, you know, to fill that cavity that they don't even know they have, they wanted it bad enough that forget the microwave popcorn, we're going to learn how to do this so we can do it.
Yeah.
So we think musically, if we're able to not only create new music, but also create new ways of listening to the music that's really fulfilling in the space of immersive audio, that's the way you should hear it. Because you can't hide. And when you do records like, you know, I'll say the Boyz II Men record. Boyz II Men record has the ingredients of the musical food we like. Chord changes, bridges, modulations, dynamics, harmonies, right? And when you limit all of those things to 2 speakers, you really are limiting it. But all of a sudden, if you take that and you put it across, you know, 11 speakers or 12 speakers or whatever, all of a sudden it's a whole different experience that you can really, you know. And so that's what we're trying to do with our record. And also what gives us the opportunity to do, you know, you guys like movies, so when you watch a Blu-ray movie and you can watch the director's commentary version, right, where they talk about how the scenes are put together. Yeah. But we're going to do that on the record too. But it's going to be audio. You're going to hear the artists and us talk about how the songs were put together. So it gives you a total experience. And to me, ultimately, if we do it correctly, it brings the value back to music and the appreciation of the people that make the music. Yeah. It's not just a thing that you, as Terry says, vacuum to or whatever. Yeah. It's like a real experience where, you know, there's an investment put in there. Yeah. So that's our goal. Leave music in a better place than we found it. And if we can do that, then that's our exit. We drop the mic.
You guys heard it. Don't walk through flight time doors and burn the popcorn. You will be exited.
You know, wait, hold on. But that's a really great story. Can we tell that story? The flight time classic, burnt the popcorn?
You burned the popcorn.
You want to tell it?
You want me to tell it? Well, I was in the studio one day, and I was in there with one of our producers. His name was Randy Rand.
Yep, we coughing up names. All right, here we go.
Rest in peace, Randy.
Bad boy.
And for some reason, he had burned some popcorn in the microwave. Jimmy Jam walks in the studio, and his first words were, "Who in the fuck burned the popcorn?" And so Randy started apologizing. So Jam walked in my room and said, "Get him the fuck out of here." But just so you know, that wasn't why he got kicked out.
Right.
It's cumulative.
Yeah.
He had done other things.
Stockpile.
You know, but burning the popcorn was the last straw.
Right. But here's a great thing. Here's what's key about that. We always talk about studio etiquette.
Right.
And a lot of folks don't get studio etiquette knowledge before they get in the room. Like,
no, because who's to teach you?
Who's to teach you?
Right? Who's to teach you? Like, it was a girl that came in one time with Big Jim, and she said, "What if I was just to start tearing this shit up?"
Right.
That's right. Who let her in here? Who let her in here? Get her out of here.
Right.
What if I just start spilling water all in the console? Spilling Coke in the... No.
Yeah.
If you come in thinking those kind of thoughts, if you have no idea what this stuff is or what it does,
right,
or why it does what it does,
right,
then you shouldn't be there.
Right.
When we grew up, we couldn't sit in the studio.
Right.
Yeah.
What studio you get a chance to just
right.
come in?
I remember saying, Steve Hodge, hey, I'm gonna listen to this in here. No, you're gonna listen to my mix first, and you're not gonna listen to that in here.
In a chair.
I'm like,
back away from the couch.
I said, okay, and don't touch anything. It's right. Just I want you to hear it though. It's right. It's like, damn. Okay, pause. Let me move back.
But then
you know, he taught me. So Usher's brother, J-Lac, I was on Instagram Live with him, and he was like, bro, I gotta tell you, man, you gave me this look when I walked in the studio, like, what are you doing here? Get out of here. And he was like, without you saying that, I walked out of the room, and he's like, it was the best lesson. Because I understood if I'm gonna walk in a room, I better have something to offer. I better know something. I better have some type of direction because you're doing your work, and I need to respect what you're doing. And he said the best lesson, you just don't walk in the studio.
Well, I think too, it's like, yeah, we've been taught, we're to be students, and it's the one saying that floats around the family is, you never hear a sponge talk. So, it's like, but those are the things that, especially with these kids, like, they wake up with the laptop and, they figured out in the studio.
They got a record company, as Terry says, no, you're a reducer, not a producer.
Yeah, that's crazy because that's what people's attitudes are now.
Right.
People just walk in the session and sit down, and you're back there and you hear them singing in the back, right? And you're trying to produce a vocal. Can you take that out of here?
Right.
Oh, or start trying to add words to your writing. Right. Your writing.
Right. Oh yeah, that's a good idea too. That's a good idea.
Who asked you? No, you sit down and be quiet.
Yeah.
And even I go into a session, I won't say a word unless someone asks me something.
Yeah.
And then I'm very reserved about giving my opinion.
Right. But see, that's just
that can detour somebody's idea.
Right. But that's just so great. Like for people to have perspective, it's like even as much as you all have done through the years, they still have that approach and that respect and that perspective. Like that's.
Oh, it's reverence for the music. You humble yourself to the music. It's about the music.
That's it.
We'll be dead and gone. The music will still live. It doesn't matter. And you can think yourself to be important, but you're not. You're replaceable, as we all are.
Right.
There'll never be another Prince, but somebody will take that slot.
Yeah.
Somebody will do some music, and we'll be listening to it and boogieing to it.
Yeah.
And his music will always remain, even though he's not here.
Yeah.
And so, you just have to put it in perspective, and that way you don't let yourself get your pants too big.
Yeah.
You gotta still wear your pants
Yeah.
and make sure that you're doing the right thing and being responsible to the music.
Man.
And also the other thing is what you're putting in the music. And everybody transitions in terms of their ideas in terms of growing and growth.
Right.
The things that we do early and we think we can say things and not be responsible. As you quickly get older and you have your children, then you quickly understand that you can't say those things because they're not proper.
Right.
And it's not about doing music for money. It's about doing music to heal. It's about doing music that's positive. Yeah. Music is beautiful. It's supposed to help enhance our world.
Right.
It's supposed to heal our world. And that is your responsibility, whether you like it or not. And if you just want to make money, your demise will be ugly.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah. Well, hey.
And this ain't a business to get money. Money don't like you in this business.
And music doesn't like competition.
That's it.
And money is competition.
Yeah.
It has no
You're
friends.
doing it for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
She likes you to be pure.
Right.
Can you wear white?
Selfish.
She wants all your attention, and she giving everybody hits.
And speaking of just musicals, like the demand or the sacrifice and commitment that comes with doing music at a high level, what has been the key remedy for you guys? And I think it's something that we've been able to be a student and watch you guys and how you went down the road with your families and everything. But what has been the common ground for you guys when you turn that creative light switch off and be family men and be there for your kids? And because we always talk about a balance in this game, and I always say balance is a moving target. You try to hit it. When you think you got it on, it moves again, and somebody, you didn't go see somebody, you missed a birthday, or
Yep. Well, Prince asked me that question one time. He said, "Well, how do you balance it?" I said, "There is no balance. It's like putting out fires. You put out the fire that's the hottest.
Yeah.
And you just try to keep it moving.
Yeah.
And do the best that you can, because one thing you realize in life once you become classic is that we're all here doing the best we can, or should be, trying to do the best we can. And the ones that don't study, because that's the key to making great music, is study.
Right.
You have to study. You have to study the artist. You have to study the history of music. You have to know what's available to you technology-wise and otherwise. And all those things become you, and all those things transition into making music.
Right.
So, studying is everything. But as far as balance, man, you're not going to find no balances. It's going to be uncomfortable for somebody. My kids are suffering one day. My music is suffering the next. People say,
that's so true.
What happened to you guys? You guys haven't put nothing out in a while. I was building a house. I was putting my kids through school. I was going to dance recitals and basketball games and football games. I have a wife, track meets,
right.
whatever there is, there's always something that's going to distract you. And music, she doesn't like competition.
Yeah. It's funny, T, like I remember when we were growing up, you would always talk to us about the creative pie. And as you get older, that pie starts to get,
that time starts to get smaller.
Less time to create. You're running your kids here, you're running your kids there, and it's an interesting thing that it's being able to talk about it and share the stories of how you do manage to balance it. Because it does become challenging.
That pie does change, and you get a smaller percentage. But the other side of it, the longer tenure you have in the business, the more your know-how becomes stronger. It's like a muscle. You get stronger.
Yeah.
So, I always say there's a couple ways to do records. You can do records on inspiration, which I prefer to do.
Right.
But you can certainly do records on know-how.
Right.
I know how many bars to put here. I know what kind of beat. I kind of know what people like.
Right.
And I can write a song about anything.
Yeah.
So I can do it on know-how. But if I'm inspired, it just goes way past, it shoots past the standard, and that's what we like to do. We like to get artists that inspire us.
Yeah. I love it. Man, I hear y'all got a performance coming up. What's up with that?
Yeah, we're going to do a little something here. We're going to do a little something. No, as I was talking about earlier, as we get older, there's sometimes a greater chance that we won't have the opportunity to do things together.
Yep.
Because somebody won't be around, maybe. Hopefully not in the near future, but anyway, so Prince, Grammys are doing a tribute to Prince. Mm-hmm. It was something that was trying to happen last year, but it didn't due to a bunch of different things. But this year, it seems like the stars have aligned and it is coming together. And Terry and I are involved in the music direction of that, along with Sheila E. And it was important to us to have, no matter how many people wanted to actually pay tribute to Prince because they had been inspired by him or loved his music, it was important to have the people that really were the roots of everything. So the Revolution is going to be part of that, and getting them back together and having them perform is an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The other kind of reunion, if you will, is the time. And on the technology side, I'm happy to say that it's the time, but it's the time with the OB8s, the R-Bomnies, the Lindrums, like all of the, all the stuff that actually created the chili sauce, the classics. But it's a chance to get everybody back together. And at the end of the day, it's all for Prince. It's all to have him be happy. Sheila E. is going to kill it as she always does. Yeah. She's always amazing. But then there's people that, like Chris Martin, like the Bangles, like, Susanna Hoffs, people that have all been kind of influenced by him. And even if you don't necessarily directly hear it in their music, you will hear when their interpretations of the way the songs are done, and then you'll make the connection of what that is, and that great musical connection that he has with people. So we're excited about that, and we've even recreated the stage that Prince used.
Y'all are really going there.
Oh, yeah. No, we want it to be right. We want it to be truly the right tribute that he should have. Because really, we could do a 5-hour, 10-hour show and never pack it in.
My favorite artist, hands down, forget about it. I mean, he's amazing. I love that you guys are honoring him as much as you did while he was living, even in his death. It's amazing. Wouldn't expect anything less.
At a certain point, it's funny because at a certain point it'll be, hey, let's get all the guys back together, and they'll say, oh, so-and-so's not here with us anymore. Or maybe they're not, they're here in living, breathing, but maybe spiritually aren't there anymore, or maybe have lost the capacity to perform or or whatever that is.
Yeah.
I'd rather do it and then go, yeah, I'm glad we did it.
We did it.
Than have regrets. I always think about the Beatles, man. I know the Beatles at some point in time to have the bond that they had, and despite the arguments or whatever those things were, I know they never thought there'd be a day when, even if they decided to get back together, they couldn't get back together because John wasn't around.
Yeah.
Or then George wasn't around.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And it's like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to have that regret.
Well, and it's special too because everybody who loved Prince and that whole experience are going to be able to at least be able to witness it.
Yes.
That's what's awesome.
Exactly.
He's the author and the father of a movement. So, I mean, it's important to pay that respect to him.
Yes.
I mean, and not only that for us, I mean, he gave us opportunity and work ethic that is unsurpassed. Like, that was the most important takeaway for us.
Work ethic.
Like, how hard this dude worked and how much he loved music.
Right.
And to me, I always say Prince is music.
Yep.
He is, he lived and breathed it like nobody else.
Right.
Yep.
Forsaking all other things.
Right.
Yes.
He loved music.
Let me ask you this, T. Are some of these, obviously we for us, we experienced Prince as we did, growing up, but you guys were there with him, same age growing up. I mean, did you see these traits? I mean, did you see that? Did you imagine or think it would become what it became with Prince?
He was so talented as a young kid
Yeah.
that you could see the future,
Yeah.
but then our finite future was like
Right.
the next block.
Right.
We didn't know what the world offered at that point.
Right.
But we knew he was extremely talented and he was otherworldly.
Other road, gotcha.
He was worthy of something more than what our surroundings had to offer.
Wow.
And so that was a big part of it. But there were a lot of talented people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were people like Sonny Thompson who showed us all
Yeah.
how to play a little bit on a different level. And just that camaraderie and competition made us all better.
Yeah.
Was it Greg Peterson, I think his name was? It was Craig Peterson.
Yeah.
Craig Peterson, guitarist, he was crazy. Jazz guitarist. There were so many people around.
Yeah.
And then
That
with
was-
Prince, think about like Sue Ann Carwell.
Sue Ann Carwell, who he kind of
vocally
took a piece of
Yes.
her
Yep.
that was
The,
him.
the way she could stack harmonies and the way she could do her thing.
It was an amazing format.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I should even say format. I should say floor mat
Yeah.
to build from.
Yeah.
Right.
It was competition.
Yeah.
Because it was nothing for us to do, so we all had to create something to do.
Yep.
Right.
And music was that. It was cold as hell.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Yep.
Woo.
But the other thing too is that just the talent, I mean, the story I always remember is back when I was in junior high and we took a piano class together, Prince and I, and it was cool because we both knew how to play already, but it got us out of class for a couple hours, which was great. And the teacher would give us like Mary Had a Little Lamb or something, right? And put the sheet music in front of us and be like, okay. And then she'd leave. And it was like a setup where there was like a bunch of keyboards all around. So you could just sit and just start. Well, we jam.
Yeah.
So later on after that, and I remember thinking, and I thought I could play pretty good at that point. I thought I was pretty good. And watching Prince play was like a whole nother shit. Like I felt like, oh damn, I got to go back to school here. This is, he's on a whole nother level. But at the time I thought of myself as a drummer, right? So I was like, okay, cool. So we get this little play thing we're going to put together, and they say, we're going to put a play together for the school. We need a band. Who wants to play? So we all raised our hands. And they looked at Prince, and they said, Prince, what do you want to play? He said, I'll play guitar. Look, guitar? Okay. They were like, Jimmy, what do you want to play? I said, I'll play drums. And he looked at me like, drums? Right? So it was cool, right? So we get into the rehearsal. Prince rips off, Make Me Smile by Chicago. Terry Kath solo, note for note, plugs in the guitar, rips this solo. And I'm just going, oh shit, he's like, okay, guitar, right? So then we do a little bit, we do our thing. We take a break. I go to the bathroom. I hear somebody stirring the drums up, like just killing them. I'm thinking it's like the band teacher or something, right? I walk back in, it's Prince. Prince on the drum, just tearing it up. I walk back up to him. and he like hands me the drumsticks, and I was like, oh shit, I don't even want to touch these drumsticks. They were like hot. So I knew, and this is, I mean, I'm talking 13 years old at this point, and it was crazy. But the other thing, at that point in time, he was a basketball player too.
Oh yeah.
He could hoop. He could hoop. You know, you watch,
every job.
like if you watch, like nowadays, like if you, the people that know basketball, like Ja Morant, who like can just do like everything, just like crazy stuff. He was like that. He was short, man, but it didn't matter. You couldn't get the ball from him, man. Like and he could shoot from any range. He could make it. And he come up the court, and what I remember is going to the games. He come up the court with the basketball, and he had this huge afro, right? And his afro, when he was dribbling the ball, his afro would like literally be like moving like in time. And the girls would all be, Prince, Prince. They were screaming at him for bouncing the basketball. I was like, okay, this dude is, it's otherworldly. Yeah, it's
Special.
otherworldly. Yeah,
Wow.
you just knew it.
And you know, the great thing about it too is all of you guys, you know, from the brothers to Prince to you, had the opportunity to have a parent that was a musician.
That's so true.
So that kind of molded the whole concept for you of how important music was and the value of what music is to you and also to your livelihood.
Yeah.
Because y'all's parents actually worked doing music and took care of the families.
Yeah.
And people don't really understand. I always tell kids that music can take you around the world.
Yeah.
It has taken me around the world. It is nothing else I could ever think of that I could do that could make me as happy and fulfill me as much as music has.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's very important to understand that, because especially if you learn the keyboards, there's always a wedding and a funeral somewhere.
That's right.
And you can play somewhere.
Yeah.
So get that music, man.
Yeah. Wow. Man. Well, guys.
That's enough. Shit.
That's right. We don't,
Exactly. We're out. Peace, bitches.